bottom comes with so many options. So I changed a little bit since I did this test, and now the waist is a bit higher than when I did the video, but the general shape is the same. So we now have a thong option for the front and back, of course, a tiny option front and back, and for the cheeky option we have a lower on the front and a little bit higher on the front with the cheeky back. I hope you enjoy our video and you will enjoy one of these options that we have for you. So I decided to sew the cheeky option and also the thong option. So one with the center a little bit higher, the one that has more coverage, so you can see the difference. And I also use different methods on both of them, so you can follow along and see how different it can be the way you do exactly the same bikini bottom. So let's start by cutting the fabric. Use the fold mentioned in the fabric and don't forget to see the grain line, and let's cut all our pieces. It has a center back seam and you will see the difference. This means that it fits you perfectly. It's amazing. So let's sew both options using the different methods that I told you, and I will give lots of details. That's why this video is 15 minutes or 16 or something. So keep up until the end. All our pieces are now ready and we will start assembling both patterns. So start by placing your fabrics on the table with right sides facing together, front with front and back with back. Line the center back seam and pin. Pin the top, pin the center back seam, pin the top of your front and the leg holes. And let's sew everything. I pin with my main fabric facing outwards, facing up on the table, and this is because I want to remember when I'm on my sewing machine to place the elastic on top of my main fabric. So this means that I prefer to pin on that side also, so I'm sure I don't forget when I'm going to my sewing machine. My front has a specific V shape. This means that to achieve this very edge V shape, I will need to sew with my straight stitch machine using an elastic stitch, but using my straight stitch machine, I will do this area on the V, on the angle of the V shape. Because if I do this continuous on my overlock, this will be round and will not have this shape. So I will without taking the elastic off, I will go from my overlock to my straight stitch, continue, and then do the rest. And you will see me doing this, so I'm sure that you can follow along. So now let's sew leg holes, the top here, and join our center back seams for the back. So now I'm gonna do the front with the V. So I start always a little bit without elastic because I don't want my edge to be bulky. And then with my needles down, I add my elastic. I will not apply pressure on my elastic this time because I know my fabric and I know my piece, so I don't want to apply any tension at this moment. So I'm going to go straight ahead. When I'm near the V area, I'm going to stop and I'm coming out of this machine and I'm going to my straight stitch machine. So I'm gonna try to tape everything on camera because my tripod is ruined, so my camera is hanging by literally a thread. So I'm gonna try to tape all this for you. So using my straight stitch machine, I'm going to align to secure my overlock threads, and I'm gonna do an elastic stitch, and I'm coming to the V shape, and then we will turn on the machine. I know that technically you should not cut your elastic, but I do this for the V shape to be accurate and to be very sharp. So I know that technically you are not supposed to, but I do it, okay? So I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna cut my elastic like in a vertical line, and I'm gonna use my straight stitch, and then I'm gonna put the foot up, turn the fabric, and do a little bit also here, and then we will go back to our overlock. So as you can see, this is how it turns. So the V-shape is really a V-shape, and also I'm gonna reinforce this again, this area, and then I'm gonna trim with my scissor. I'm gonna trim a little bit of the excess fabric and rubber elastic here on the V, so I'm sure that when I reverse the bottom, the V will really be sharp. Okay, so this is, now I'm going back to my overlock. I'm actually going to do the other front now, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over the entire front with the overlock, so we can see the difference between using the other method and this one. So I'm going to use continuous overlock with my rubber elastic on this front. We now have our fronts, the one with the V-shape very sharp, and the one that I sewed straight ahead. So we will for sure notice the differences. Now we are going to face the backs, right sides facing together. We will pin the leg hole and the top and sew with our overlock, placing elastic. Let's do this for both of them and we'll be back. If you are new on this, maybe you should practice before you sew your favorite fabric. To pin the fabric, I wanted to tell you, you put your place your two fingers on the table on top of the fabric. You press down, not stretch the fabric, not stretching the fabric. So you press down, and with your needle you place the needle securing both fabrics. It's important for you to check the other side to make sure that your fabric is not with folds or anything, so it will be okay on the sewing machine. I love using center back seam because the fit, it will be much better than if it was an entire piece. So that's why most of my pieces are now always with the center back seam. But also what I wanted to tell you is that if you want to make sure that your center back seam is completely aligned between the two fabrics, sometimes when you are sewing, one of them slides a little bit and then the seams are not aligned. So if you want to make sure that they are aligned, you can use your needle and you do some stitches to secure the seams in place. That's what I'm gonna do now. So I didn't get it on camera because it's quite simple and straightforward, so I don't want to have more minutes on the video because of this. But there is still something that I didn't tell you in this video. I think I'm repeating myself every video that I do, so probably, but this one will be one of the most complete videos, so I'm gonna repeat myself. Every time we do the sewing of the elastic, I leave an inch centimeter from the edge. And this is because when we combine the front with the back, we will take about half a centimeter of seam allowance, and this means that the elastic will be very near the edge of your sewing. This happens on the crotch area and also on the sides. For me, I do it like this because I don't like the bulkiness of the thickness that the elastic has when you do these areas, when you connect front with back, sewing over 4 layers. So actually what I always do, and this is again an option that I do, these edges of the elastic, I always trim them and let them less sharp, so that once the bottom is on the correct sides, I hope you will not be able to see the beginning of the elastic. So I trimmed my edges from the elastic in all the pieces, and I also trimmed the V-shape in front here, not cutting the threads that I did with my straight stitch, with the elastic stitch of course, but not cutting those threads, but cutting the V-shape. And also when I sew this area, I always sew a little bit more, so I'm sure that my overlock threads are secure, so when I cut I'm not putting my piece in risk and everything will unfold here. So this is secure. So now let's do the next step. I am going to reverse my back piece right sides outwards, and once this is done, I'm going to insert my back piece inside my front, aligning the sides and aligning the crotch area. I'm going to pin over the 4 layers of fabric, and if I want to make sure that my seams are aligned, as we did before, I will stay stitch with my needle. I will do some stitches to secure exactly where I want my strap to be. And so you can do this for both options. Just to remind you that since this is a thong option, I will reverse this piece through a hole that I will make after. Okay, so for now let's line this back inside the front, align the sides and align the crotch. So on this bottom I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna reverse the front and I'm going to insert the front inside the back. Don't forget, again, right sides facing together, so my pink will face my pink and my white will face my white. There's no difference of doing this like this or like this, so reversing the back and inserting or whatever, but in this case with the wider back seam, what I will do, I will open my center back seam here to reverse the piece to the right side. So I prefer to insert my front inside my back, so I will use this for the reverse of the piece. That's why on this piece I did it like this, and on this one where I had a very thin area on the back, I preferred to insert it on the reverse method. So on this one I'm going to insert this one on the sides again. Now, using my straight stitch machine with a zigzag or an elastic stitch, I'm going to sew over the 4 layers of fabric on the crotch area and on the sides. I always like to trim this in the end, so when I do my stitch, I will secure again my threads from my overlock on a diagonal stitch, and then I'll go straight ahead and then diagonal again, securing the threads, and I will do this for all my crotch and sides. So everything is sewn together. Now just to tell you that I did a small reinforcement on each side of the place where I'm going to do the hole to reverse this piece. So I went to my straight stitch machine and sewed a little bit here and a little bit here, leaving a little bit in the middle, and that's where I'm going to cut to reverse. But before that, I'm going to trim all the excess fabric and threads that I have on my bottoms. While I do this, please don't forget, if you like the video, to make a thumbs up, and also to leave your comments if you want to, and also to subscribe our YouTube channel if you want to keep following our videos. When you trim, make sure that you don't cut the threads that you just did. I know exactly how I do mine, so I'm used to do this. I'm gonna do this for all of them, and then I'm gonna open a small hole and reverse them, and let's see the final results. Don't forget to close the holes, okay? I always do. Then something I wanted to tell you. Here are the real front that we did, the rounder one with the overlock. Also, this is the cheeky option, and here also. This is the thong option again, and then this is the lower final high waist and the higher front option. Thank you.